Hello! Today we're going to be playing some dank dungeon. Made by Red Hook, apparently. We're going to be talking about how this game works. What makes this game good.
Ruin has come to our family.
Cutscene.
You remember our venerable house? Opulent and imperial, gazing proudly from its stoic perch above the moor. I lived all my years in that ancient, rumor-shadowed manor, fattened by decadence and luxury. And yet I began to tire of conventional extravagance. Singular, unsettling tales suggested the mansion itself was a gateway to some fabulous and unnameable power. With relic and ritual, I bent every effort towards the excavation and recovery of those long-buried secrets, exhausting what remained of our family fortune on swarthy workmen and sturdy shovels. At last, in the salt-soaked crags beneath the lowest foundations, we unearthed that damnable portal of antediluvian evil. Our every step unsettled the ancient earth, but we were in a realm of death and madness. In the end, I alone fled laughing and wailing through those blackened arcades of antiquity, until consciousness failed me. You remember our venerable house, opulent and imperial. It is a festering abomination. I beg you, return home, claim your birthright, and deliver our family from the ravenous, clutching shadows.
Why me? Ooh.
Of the darkest dungeon.
Alright. Basically what that said is that you die a lot in this game. That's what that just said. I accidentally skipped it. So yeah, first thing you notice in this game is probably the aesthetic is very gritty, and the what's it called? The narrator suits that very well. He's also a very gritty, very gravelly voice. And that's good because it leads to the rest of this game, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I have played this game a little bit before, a little bit of cutscene.
You will arrive
game is
along
quite
the old road.
We have this narrator, and he basically tells us
with a troubling
and this
serpent-like
game has a
suggestion through the corrupted countryside.
really unique art
Leading
style
only, I
that's
fear, to ever more tenebrous
really
places.
has a
There
lot
is
to
a
do with
thickness
what
in the
makes this
ancient
game
pitted
pretty good.
cobbles of the old road.
Simply because it's
And
very,
on its
very
writhing
pleasant
path,
to look at.
You will face viciousness,
In
violence,
a aesthetic
perhaps
sense, not really like
other
things are gritty and gross,
damnably
but
transcendent terrors.
pleasant to look at. So
So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell.
yeah, I think we're good. We're gonna go to a spooky place, then we're gonna die. That's basically what he's just gonna say. So this game is sort of follows the same line as what's sort of becoming popular now, which is sort of post Dark Souls, no hand-holding, difficult kind of brutality that is starting to become a lot more prevalent in video games. If this will load, come on, man. And I think it's good. I think it's a good way to go because as of recently, games have gotten significantly easier, especially because of hand holding and things like that. Tutorial! Yeah. Click on another room.
Brigands have run up these lanes.
So here,
Side path. The hamlet is just ahead.
So this game works by going between the rooms, and the rooms themselves usually involve a certain event, and in between these rooms can be certain smaller events. Most of them are bad, to be honest. Some of them can be good, but it's very rare. This game is, to compare it to Dark Souls, go ahead and keep going. To compare it to Dark Souls follows a very specific formula, and so does this game. They both follow a very structured system, and they a very structured system, and they use that system to sort of formalize their gameplay. And this game sort of does that similarly. I would say the biggest difference between the two games are that it's being weird with my clicks.
Destroy them all.
Here we have our inventory, and it is a limited space, so things we gather in this dungeon here, not always able to take it, even though we'll have to make decisions on whether or not. This means that our morale just went down. We'll just keep going. But the way Dark Souls handles things is that it uses this system that is relatively fair. Like Dark Souls, even though its main goal is to kill you in several ways, several unexpected and seemingly unfair ways, Dark Souls is at its base fair. The player's death is usually the player's fault, simply because they didn't do something correct. What does this do? It's a little buff, I think. I'm just gonna shoot this guy. So that's the idea anyway. Sometimes there's some bullshit in Dark Souls that involves. Can I get this guy? No. So here we see. I can't really mouse over it, but this little red thing right here shows us what attacks. This little line here shows that both the first and second place get hit. This guy takes up both places because he's fat. But it's a cool little UI thing. It makes it pretty simple to see what it can target. We're just gonna smack this guy good. So yeah, Dark Souls is a fair system, and it tries to be as fair as possible while still catching the player off guard, and that's essentially the idea behind pretty much everything that Dark Souls does. And this game sort of does the same thing, but it's got a lot more RNG, and it's got a lot more that is. Got a lot more that is not controlled by the player, and that leads to a game that is procedurally generated. This game is procedural, and it makes the game last a lot longer because things are pretty random, so that pretty much every time you go into a dungeon, everything's going to be completely different, and things can go completely terribly. Like you could bring your best people and try and wreck shop, but completely get wiped, and that's just how it goes in this game.
Precision and power.
And also we've got this, and here we see when good things happen, everybody gets happy, and we want to keep people happy, because if we go past a certain point, people start going insane, and that's sort of like probably the original design point from this is that somebody was probably sitting down one day and thought to themselves, I want to make a game where people go insane in dungeons. And it's probably how this game started to get developed. Because that's sort of, everything sort of revolves around the what would you call it, the sanity of your characters here. Here we got some loot that these are a strange form of currency, but they're a form of currency. I've completed a quest. Get off my screen. No. We need this first. It's trapped. Oh no. Doesn't really matter because we're leaving anyway. No, wait. Oh, I just got stabbed by something. Eat. How do I eat? Oh, it's left, right click. I'm going to die. This is the frickin' tutorial. Don't die! Don't you do it! Did I have to? Did you? Oh, I just clicked that, I guess. Okay. I haven't played this in a while, so there's a few things like that that I don't remember. So yeah, here we have our little currency, little statues, and then paintings, and then we have the sort of rarer ones. Then we level up because it's RPG, and then down here it'll show us later on certain diseases that these people will contract, and some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them are sort of neutral, I guess.
Welcome home.
And it's all about managing
this squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands.
People.
They are yours
because
now,
your people
and you are bound to them.
Have permadeath. And if you die, you're fucked. So here we're just gonna look around.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Oh, these are quests and cutscenes and junk. I don't care about any of that. This is where everybody dies.
Covered in the poisoned earth, awaiting merciful oblivion.
So this is where we get new people.
Women,
plague doctors are cool.
Soldiers and outlaws.
Because they got beaks
and corpses.
And vestals.
All will find their way to us now that the road is clear.
So beyond the fact that these, so this stagecoach here will randomly bring in like a list of new people for you, and they, on top of the fact that the ones that you get are random, there's also the fact that their abilities themselves are random from a list, you know. So there's quite a bit of depth of getting characters with certain combinations of skills and things like that, and then we've got a lot more stuff to unlock later. But now that we've got a full party
of madness and morbidity,
with our tank up front,
your work begins.
There it is. If we right click, it'll show us. Here we can see like what their individual abilities are, but this and this show you these little yellowish things here. These show you that you can't shoot somebody from the front row. So this character doesn't really work the best in the front row, but most of his abilities here, most of the abilities that I have, let's see, we got this, and this. So we can't use that in the front row, we can't use that in the front row or the back row, and we can't use this in the back row. So ideally we wouldn't want to be in the front or the back. So this gives us sort of an overview of all of what we have equipped, without having to like go through these individually like we just did. And then this also shows what the abilities target the most. So ideally we want to have a character that is good
on every position, and a character that is good on attacking each position. More so these front two, at least for the beginning parts of the game, but these front two for the beginning parts, and then later on these two. But because earlier on we're not going to be seeing like full 4 characters. At least we shouldn't, unless we get screwed. But so here, let's see what we got. We got a range poison thingy, 4 points per round for 3 rounds. So this is sort of a disadvantage of it being a RPG, is that there's a lot of terms and stuff like that terms and acronyms and stuff that if well, that's pretty good. That's not too bad. There's a lot of acronyms and things like that that are unfriendly to players who haven't played this before. Generally nowadays people know what DMG and ACC and crit are, but it's sort of a disadvantage because people that don't know what PTS per RT for 3 RTS means, it's not too bad. But it's sort of a disadvantage of all RPG games. So down here we have camping skills, which we'll get to that in a bit, but this in between, like in longer dungeons, we have we have a non-ideal team. This guy has to be in like 3rd place here. She ideally wants to be second or 3rd, but she'll be fine in the back. She has healing stuff. It'll be alright, I guess. Okay. Yeah. Stress eater. Ooh. You're not very good. You're gonna be brutal. But so here we have our little randomly generated things. See, these are the great things about this game, is that the characters like tell you things like that. They let you know that they are not happy with you sending them there because they will die. So, and then they're here and they're like, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, let's do it, whatever. But what is this? See ya. If you're over here, they'll be like, yeah, pick me, we'll go, we'll do it, I want the loot.
The cost of preparedness, measured now in gold, later
Now
in blood.
we have to take, on pretty much every expedition, you want to take quite a bit of food, depending on how long it's going to be. This one's fairly short, so we don't need, like, very much, really. Sell 1, there it goes. Shovels are useful to have because they, we get through obstacles easier, and that can help us with torches, which torches are another thing that we have to have, and they increase the light level, and the light makes sure that we don't go completely and totally insane. It's also useful to bring a key or two, but I don't think we'll find anything to use this on, but we'll see. The dank memes of state, yeah. Great. I didn't know it did that, but it'll work. We got the rare Pepes we're looking for down here. What is this? What is all this stuff? Glossary. Yeah. I think we're good. I think that's it. What is this? Yeah. Can I sell this? Yeah, I know. It's probably going to teach me about those, so we probably have to have it. I don't really need it though. It's a very short mission. I don't know why these loading screens are so long. I don't remember that. Yes, I know it works. So yeah, you'll see that things get randomly generated, and these will get significantly longer. Don't go crazy. It's okay. It's a little spooky, it's alright. So here we have loads of little interactables, and we choose a character to interact with specific things because sometimes good things will happen and sometimes bad things will happen, and you gotta sort of, you know, pick who's gonna die. So with this guy, I like to kill things in the back just because he can, and most people can't. Smack. So an interesting little design decision in this game is that there is magic, there's healing, and there's magic things, but they decided not to give it mana, which is an interesting decision, considering that you can, at least early on, you can just sort of spam your abilities. I think this should be fine.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Yeah, people like it when they stab stuff and they
This
die.
expedition at
They get
least
all happy.
promises success.
You. Oh, yeah. That's the weirdest part about this game, is that, like, you want to just go right and just keep going right, but you have to click on the map, and I feel like that's sort of a strange design decision. Okay, so this is why we bring Shaw.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Otherwise, we would take damage, we would take a lot of this down, and all this stuff. Spooky. We got a spooky guy in the back, he's gonna spook us. Get spooked. What does this do? Do that. Get spooked to spooker. Get spooked. So this guy doesn't do, except for his little bleed thing, he doesn't do a whole lot of actual damage. He just poisons people, and his poison does quite a bit. Let's see it does 4. Bam. Pretty good early on. Later on it starts to fall off, I think. I don't know. I haven't gotten all that far in this game. These guys, I'm trying to focus this guy down because you'll see this little thing around his head is the same little icon that shows up around people's heads when they go insane. And that sort of tells you this guy is going to make you go fucking insane, and that's a cool little design thing. But this has a correlation with what happens over here and what this guy does. So this tells us, fuck this guy, kill him good, kill him real good, because he will wreck everyone's shop because you don't want to go insane. When your party starts to go insane, that's when you'd lose. That's when you just die, because everybody starts, like, you try to attack and they're just too busy freaking out to do anything. You gotta manage it. And that's why we have this little bar down here, shows us how insane everybody is.
Slowly,
Bam.
gently.
So now he's not
This
gonna
is
bother
how
us
life
anymore.
is taken.
Kill this guy. You douche! Just heal up. Heal up all the time. So I love the Crusaders because they fucking wreck shop.
Destroy them all.
I get to use this ability here later, and this is pretty cool. You just laser people with a frickin' Bible.
Their formation
Bible,
is
it's like a
broken.
scroll, but still.
Maintain the offensive.
What is that? Ooh, that's pretty good. It's pretty good for this early in the game. So I just got a trinket, and it says Highwayman only, which is this guy right here. But this shows us that we now do more damage with our gun, which is pretty cool because I like to use the gun with it. Love that. Love that. So there's to keep this bar up, which this bar, the farther this goes down, the more insane everybody starts to go, and it also affects like preemptive strikes and like ambushes and things like that. Normally you could be you're on the map a lot because you have to click these and like pick a room and then go between the rooms and then do that blah blah blah, and then you have to go back and then you would have to click this or whatever, drag it on, right click it, that's different. You would have to right click this to get it to use it, but instead of that, so right here that you could say shift click to reduce the torch and shift control click to snuff out the torch, but you can also just click it and
As
it uses
the light gains purchase,
torch. I'm wasting torch, but it's
spirits
fine.
are lifted,
Talking about games, so
and
it's
purpose
fine.
is made
But
clear.
this is a cool little UI design thing because even though it doesn't tell you that you can do that, you can just real quick, and you got your torch out. And you don't have to worry about having to go all the way to torch and use it. Same thing with earlier when we had to do the shovel thing. We didn't have to go all the way to our inventory, go to the shovel, right click it. We just have to click a thing that shows up because it knows that that's what the shovel's for and that's what we're going to use it for. And that makes things easier. Streamlined UI is always a good thing. Oh. So this guy apparently has a little thing that I think it's called Kleptomania. This button, let's do this. Yeah, he said Kleptomania, which means that he will steal my shit, which is bad because he's a crusader and I like crusaders. So this up here is our goal, and this goal will change right now. We're just going to rooms. Do we have? That only counts as that guy. Only counts as that guy. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead. Let's just bleed this guy. See how much
Well
that does.
struck.
Ooh. Yeah. So you'll also notice that there's little numbers down here, and I can use the keyboard instead of clicking them. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Use this on. How do I? I think I can just do it.
Press this advantage. Give them no
That way I don't
quarter.
have to click. I can just hit the numbers and then do it. Cue my tank up in front. Smack. Smack. Oh, that's interesting. I never really noticed that before. There's a little mark next to everybody's thing that shows you that this person's gone once that mark is gone. And that's an interesting little thing because it for enemies it'll show me that let's say two things are about to die, but one's already gone and the other one hasn't. It shows me that if I kill that one, he won't have a chance to attack me, and the other guy has already attacked anyway. So I might as well just. Ooh, we can crit heal. Ooh. Shoot him. Shoot him dead. Do you have anything I can best do that? Smack. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if there's a. Arc time. I don't know what that means. It doesn't seem like there's a way to speed up transitions. That would be nice. That seems to be this game's probably the biggest flaw in my opinion. Is this game's pacing is a bit slow because of those little fancy transitions. They're cool looking, but they're
These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
I don't want to use that. You're God, man. You like this, right? Use it. Wasted.
should have used it on that guy. I didn't know what that did, but whatever. So this is a cool little thing that shows me, like, oh, something's gonna happen right there. There's a little trap. I don't really know, but what triggers that? I think it has to do with your torch. Yeah, it says scouting right there. Not really sure. Yeah, pick the rogue man. Disarm it. So another thing is that you'll see that it says accuracy and damage up on monsters, which means that now that I'm below half torch here, it will. Ooh, we got treasure. It will start to give the monsters an advantage. But the interesting about that is that it says it has the ability to reduce the torch or just completely get rid of the torch entirely. And that's because, if you see, it says loot goes up and crits go up, which means that if we feel lucky, or we just, like, we're doing a low level thing or something, you know, whatever, it means that we can, yeah, there's treasure ahead, just shut up, let's go. It means that we can use sort of a risk-reward system and risk going completely insane and basically losing, because that's how you lose. Let me get rid of this guy because he seems spooky. You risk going completely insane, but you also get higher loot, which is a sort of a pinnacle of game design. Is a risk-reward based system where you force the player to take a higher risk and they get a reward. It's sort of a system that goes back to games like poker and things like that involve risking physical things like money and stuff like that. I'm just gonna do this. Keep the tank alive because the tank is awesome. I'm just gonna bleed. What is this? Stun him. Smack. So I could attack this guy again. He's still got 2 of them, so I'm just gonna do it on this guy. Waste DPS if I can. Oh, he did. He's gonna push me now. Don't push me. So that ability was called Eldritch push, whatever words. And he basically brings out a tentacle and shoves you and like moves your characters around out of their optimal positions and stuff like that. But it's a tentacle, and it shows there's a lot of tentacles in this game. This game likes tentacles, but no, this game likes tentacles a lot, and it's because it seems to have quite a bit of a influence from H.P. Lovecraft, which is the guy that came up with, sort of wrote the stories of Cthulhu and things like that. He has his sort of style, and he's considered to be one of the greatest Western writers. And so I'm just gonna... Oh, I'm getting stabbed. Open this. A free key! Yay! Go back. Going backwards makes you also go insane. I don't really... I think it's because, like, you don't know what's behind you, and going backwards is spooky, I guess, because you can't see behind you. But I don't know, man. You could just turn around, right? Why don't you just turn around? So food keeps you from dying. No, don't go in there, no! Yeah. Food keeps you from dying, and that makes sure... That's why you gotta bring lots of food. This is the other reason, is because as you keep going, it will... they've also changed this UI. I think I like that better, because it shows you what happens. It uses color theory here. We got this red one means bad, and we got this greenish and yellow one that means good. And that, I like that UI. But this is what else happens is, if you don't have any food, as you keep going, you can use it to heal, normally, or you have to use it to feed your party. Everyone eats one. Sometimes eats two if they have a trait that involves food, but everybody eats one. And if you don't have enough or you can't feed anybody, they all lose health. So if this is a very heavily resource management based game where you're sort of managing the resources that you have and making sure that your players or your little characters here get everything they need, because if they don't, they go insane and they die, and then you lose them forever, and you have to replace them, which replacing them is like, you could just say, oh well, it's not too hard to replace it, but no, it's fairly difficult to replace them, because they it's hard to replace them because they level up. So there is a RPG progression system here, and you, over the course of the game, you have to sort of put time into sort of a main party, and they handle like the big jobs and like the big missions and things like that. And there's a bit of a grind to make sure that you get the money that you need to keep everyone from just fucking losing and going insane. And this value, it seems like it's pretty hard to go insane, because like these guys are completely fine. These guys are doing all right. It's not too bad. But these values do not decrease very much between rounds. So in between these values are, the health is refilled at the base, but the stress value is not refilled, and that means that the longer you play this game, the harder it's going to get, no matter what you do. So this is an empty room, so we might as well just leave. So the game just gets progressively harder just because of that. On top of that, you're also fighting new things. You have to kill bosses, and you gotta go in longer and longer and longer missions without just completely losing your shit. I don't know. So this means that we gained a new trait, which... Rolling dice here. Come on, good. Yes. Damn it. Oh, that's not too bad. We don't need that for very long. We don't need that right now anyway. We will, for the most part, be playing with the torch.
Something long absent in the sunken
Bitch. You bitch. You fucking bitch. As you get spooky. Bam. We defend with the character that... Were we defending before? I don't know. Oh, fuck! Shit!